Hi everybody, Vida from Fix This along with Brandon Coppin from Thrifty Chic Home on Facebook as well as YouTube. We're going to put his information in the description below when we're all done because you have a lot of great things that we can follow.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, welcome. Today we are talking about creating your own herb garden inside your house, which I've always been jealous because I see the people who have the herb gardens and then they can just go in and they just cut off a little herb.
And you got dinner.
You got dinner. And so you're going to start us from beginning to end on how to create this, but also just kind of give us some tips as well as answer some of your questions. I think a lot of you out there might have questions like I do on how to keep it alive. That's key because I'm not the best when it comes to plants, and then just how you use them like in your everyday meals and things like that. And what are the best herbs that you want to start with, right?
Yes, that's
Which ones
right.
are the best? What do you like?
Well, yeah, that's the mistake people usually make is they pick the wrong ones.
Okay.
They try to grow basil, and it's actually really, really difficult to grow basil indoors. You pretty much have to keep it like in the sun for it to grow because basil needs a lot of sun.
Okay.
So you want to avoid things like basil, sage needs a lot of sun as well, and oregano. Don't try to grow oregano. They just need too much sun, and it's just really, really hard to
So
to
those
grow.
would be good herbs. Like if you start indoors and you do well, then you can probably create a garden for outside, an herb
Exactly.
garden when springtime comes around.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the ones you want to stick with though, parsley.
Okay, parsley.
Yep, so we've got that here.
This is your parsley right here.
That's right.
And parsley is really good for you. It has chlorophyll in it, correct? And that's
A lot of vitamin. There's a lot of vitamins in it. Vitamin A, vitamins. I think there's some vitamin C. It's full of great vitamins.
They say that this is a great way to clean out, like kind of cleanse your system. My mom always talks about getting parsley, and that really, it's really good for you. And I think what's also good too, because like I have, all the herbs in, the dried herbs in my cabinets, but when it's fresh, you're really dealing with a whole different level of health. And we're so anymore into how nutrients can really keep you healthy,
Yeah.
keep you and your family, and you can sneak stuff in for your kids.
And really a different flavor too.
Yeah.
I find that dried parsley is just not. I mean,
Yeah.
some herbs are okay dried, but parsley seems like it loses something because you have that fresh greenery
Yeah.
that you don't get when it's dried.
And is there a certain way when you get your parsley to chop it up that's the best way to chop it? Like, do you really chop it fine? Does it
I
really
guess
matter?
it depends on the recipe because if you want it to be more decorative, then you'd want to leave the leaves larger. But if you want to really get that flavor in there, then you chop it up really fine. It's great with. Have you ever had one of those potato salads?
Yes.
Instead of having the mayonnaise potato salad, you mix potatoes, you do vinegar and oil and parsley. It's just really bright, like refreshing, and it's not heavy like the usual potato salad.
Well, and I was going to ask you, what are some things, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but you already have an answer. What are some great things to throw your parsley into? Can you put it in pretty much
so
anything?
many things. I like it in salads
Yeah.
because it gives an unexpected flavor. It kind of brightens it up and gives it this unique flavor. With potatoes, it's great. I like it with tomatoes. It seems like it brings out their flavor a lot.
Tomatoes and like mozzarella and the little olive oil and the balsamic.
That's right.
Vinegar.
And some people make the mistake of getting the curled parsley.
Oh,
Do you know
okay.
that really curly, thick leaf parsley that they
Yeah.
put on plates for garnishes?
Yeah.
That does not taste good.
Okay.
Don't grow that. You want the Italian flat leaf parsley.
Okay,
So it's a very
Italian
different
leaf.
flavor
Got
than
it.
the other one's called curled parsley, and it's not really meant for culinary. At least I don't. Some people like it, but I don't think it's that good.
Very,
It's
very
more,
pretty.
definitely more of a garnish.
Okay, and then we're moving on to what is this right
Mint.
here? We've got mint. Oh, mint, and you can make mint tea with this.
You can. Now, mint is notoriously hard to grow from seed.
Okay.
Because it doesn't keep its flavor. So what you want to do is find a plant that you like, and they don't mind it at garden centers if you take a little leaf off while you're there and
okay.
taste it, because mint has a whole spectrum of flavors.
Yeah.
So make sure you're getting the right one. So just pull a leaf off and put it in your mouth and try it, and
Okay.
if you like it, take it home.
I love that. All right, so which one is this right here? We're looking at.
This is cilantro.
Okay.
Now, cilantro is a really easy plant to grow, and of course, it's great in a lot of Mexican cuisine. You have it in tacos and enchiladas.
And it's really, you can smell it.
It's so good. And this also, a lot of people don't know this, but the seeds of cilantro, it's coriander.
Oh,
So when cilantro produces flowers and it creates seeds, you can grind the seeds down and you get coriander. That's where that comes from.
I had no idea.
Now I brought some basil. I know I said you don't.
Don't plant your basil.
But if you do have like I said, a really bright kitchen, or you have a window that you can put the basil in, then you can grow it.
So keep it separate, maybe in a separate pot, right
Exactly,
where it
right.
gets a lot of sun.
Yeah, and it
Okay.
can even be in direct sun in the window. Just make sure that you keep it moist because it likes.
I was gonna like, how often then do you have to water it?
You let it dry out a little bit, so touch the top of the soil, and if it feels dry to the touch, then you can go ahead and water it. But if it feels even a little bit damp, then don't water it.
Okay. And so with these herbs, are they going to continue to grow once you trim? They're going to just keep sprouting in different areas?
They
or do
will.
you need to groom it a certain way? I know you're going to show us in a minute.
Sort of depends on how tidy you want it to look.
Okay.
Just cut it the way you want. Just make sure you don't cut the plant back too far because it needs to have leaves so that it can create its photosynthesis.
Got it.
And
So
keep
you're
growing.
you're wanting to cut it up here versus down here.
Actually, what you want to do is when you're harvesting, like parsley, for example,
Okay.
you want to, like this one you'd leave some of the smaller ones, but like this really long one, you'd want to cut it actually all the way back here.
Oh, okay.
Because it will never create shoots from this
It'll
stem
die.
again.
Got
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Okay.
So you pull the whole stem off because it'll never sprout from that stem once you've chopped it
Love
off.
it. And then you
Yeah.
cut it further. You cut it up here, and then you probably don't use the stem. You
Yeah,
just
I don't
use
usually use the
leaves.
stem. I just use the leaves because I
Stuff
find
like
that the leaves taste better. They're more subtle. The stem's a little strong and fibrous.
So I'm cutting. It's kind of like when I get the spinach in the bags and the stems on. I still don't like that.
Yeah.
But here, right there, just cut it all the way down to your parsley, and then you said chop it the way you like it. You can chop it really thin or chop it a little big for your salads.
Yeah, if you're having it in a sandwich, it's really good in a sandwich
Oh,
too.
wow.
Then you could keep it a little bit larger,
Okay.
like that.
Love it. Okay, and then as far as mint, show us how to trim our mint.
So mint is different than in basil in that it really will grow from wherever. So it doesn't really matter where you trim it. You want to trim it near a leaf.
Okay.
So maybe just above that leaf there, you want to leave several leaves on each portion of the plant so that it can keep growing.
Okay.
And then you just pull each leaf off. You don't want to eat any of the stem, the flavors in the leaf.
Got it. And so for this,
This is
you cut it
peppermint.
off.
You should try it.
Okay, let me
See
try
what
it.
you think.
So you could actually eat this. Would you put this in salads as well?
You can put it in salads, but you know what else you can do that's
And then
really
grab
fun?
it. Ooh, it smells so good.
If you glaze this with sugar
Okay.
and freeze it in the freezer on like a little cookie sheet, you can put it in with some sorbet, and it's so good with
So how do you
sorbet.
glaze it? How do you glaze it with sugar?
You just take some sugar water, and you take that kitchen brush that you use to put like oil on turkey and stuff. You glaze it with one of those,
Okay.
and then you put it on a cookie sheet on some wax paper, and you freeze it. And then
That's awesome.
usually you want bigger leaves; they're a little better for that.
Yeah, that's really good. And you know
Yeah.
what? Mint, it is the same thing. So good for you. My
This is
mom, they
peppermint.
used to have like mint all around the yard, and she would make tea from it. So, but for tea, you have to dry it out, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, dry it out, and then you
I think
can
so.
chop.
Actually, I'm not sure. You
I
might be
should be
able
calling
to.
my mom right now.
Yeah, right.
She knows, but yeah, I think you can, and you could probably actually just make it and just boil water and put it in there and then just pour it out that way too. But boy, that smells so good.
It's amazing. It actually grows as a weed in a lot of places, and a lot of people don't like it because
Really?
they think it's a weed. But I love mint.
I
It's
love
like the more the
mint.
merrier.
Yeah. Okay, and then we've got how do you trim this one?
Cilantro. So cilantro, there's a few different types of cilantro varieties, and they grow a little bit differently. But kind of stick with the same rule of thumb that you want to trim it near a leaf node.
A leaf as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so right now, parsley is the only one that you trim off all the way to the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you get anything else, I think if you go to your garden center and you get something else, just ask the experts there. They'll be able to tell you, or just Google it.
They'll know.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're very knowledgeable at garden centers. See how this tastes.
Okay.
I love cilantro. I didn't used to like cilantro, and a lot of people think cilantro has like this metallic flavor to it. The ones that don't like it, they taste this metallic flavor.
Right,
So
it
you
does.
either love it or you hate it.
Yeah, you've got a little bit of the Mexican flavor in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. And then your basil.
Basil. So basil, you want to trim it near a leaf node. Now this one you'd want to be careful. It's such a small plant that if
Okay.
you tried to cut it all the way back down, it may
It's
not.
all done.
It's done. Yeah, that's it.
You've got one stem.
So we'll
Okay.
trim it there.
Okay.
That way it's got plenty of extra leaves to keep growing.
Okay.
And basil's wonderful in so many things. I like it with fresh buffalo mozzarella, and then vine-ripe tomatoes and
Yes.
olive oil and vinegar.
Yes.
It's so
So you
good.
can do that and the parsley with that too.
And you can, whoops, there goes my
And
basil.
again, you're talking about this is fresh and this is just filled. This is packed with antioxidants.
Yeah.
All these herbs.
And you can make pesto with basil,
Oh.
which is so good. You mix pine nuts, basil, and olive oil.
Wow.
Got
You're gonna have to
pesto.
cook for me. I'm really getting excited
hungry.
about it. Ready for my dinner. All right, now you want to show us how to plant these.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you have a lot of time and patience,
Okay.
you
I
can
don't.
start with seeds.
Okay.
So we've got that option here.
Tell us how seeds work if you do start with seeds. So because you said that that's I've never been successful for seed to flower.
It's tricky. The issue with seeds is you need a lot of light.
Okay.
So you're either going to have to put them directly in a window, or you're going to need some grow lights.
Do you want to show me real quick on one of these how to plant the seeds?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Now, it's always different depending on the variety, so make sure you consult your seed packet, because it will tell you the depth. Sometimes you're supposed to put it on the surface. You know, there's all of these different nuances depending on what kind of seed it is.
All right, so I'm going to take this out. We're going to grab one of these, and this is in case you do get really, really bold and you want to plant your seeds. Is there a certain time of the year you have to plant your seeds, or no? If it's indoors?
If it's indoors, yeah,
Okay.
whenever you want. This is a great time to do it. All right, so we're going to open up the seed packet, and we're going to set that aside.
Now, we got your potted soil. I was like, I have some that are. Does it matter what you just got? A natural, organic?
Yeah, what you really want to look for is potting soil for containers.
Okay.
It's going to be lighter weight. It's not going to be really heavy like other soils. And that's better because you don't want a really dense, heavy soil in a container because the roots need to be able to breathe. Okay. So potting soil meant for containers is the best way to go.
Love it.
Don't go outside and pull it out of your garden.
Do we want to dip in, or you're going to just go? You're going to put
actually,
it in over here?
Yeah,
Perfect.
I've got this nice little. So we'll show this. So, and make sure you get, I know it looks weird to be putting soil into a container with a hole in it, but you really want to have that drainage there because the roots, you know, deaf and plant, yeah, well, there it goes, falling out the bottom, thank you. Just cover the hole while you do this, while you initially do this. So plants, they need to have adequate drainage because the roots need to be able to breathe and they don't like to sit in water.
Got it.
So make sure you have a hole in the bottom of the container.
Yeah, and then they have the containers that you can put underneath the bottom as well.
That's right. So we're going to put a little bit of a hole there.
Just down like a half an inch to an inch?
This one says 1/8 of an inch actually.
Oh wow,
so just
so
a
we
little
really
bit,
don't need much on that
just hardly
one.
anything.
Okay, so really follow that because it could be 1/8 of an inch to an inch probably.
And you don't just want to put one seed in there.
Okay.
Because not every single seed will germinate.
Okay.
It's like a 90% kind of thing with the good quality seeds.
Okay.
So we're going to do 3 seeds,
Well,
three or 4
very
seeds.
small, so you really
They're
want to go
teeny.
that small on it? You don't want to go like put the whole packet in there?
No.
Maybe that was
You
my
can
problem.
do that.
Maybe that's what I did wrong.
You can do that. You just have to thin what they call as thinning.
Thinning out.
When they all pop up, you cut off every single plant except one.
Wow. Okay.
So we're going to put these right in here. And then we're going to cover that with what it says, which is 1/8 of an inch of soil.
Okay. So you're set on that one.
And then you'd use a spray bottle, and you would moisten the soil, and then you would cover it with plastic wrap, saran wrap. Because the soil needs to stay moist until the seeds germinate.
So keep it all the way till you start seeing the plants come out?
Exactly.
Okay. So that's...
As soon as you see the shoots come up, you remove the plastic wrap.
Okay. Perfect. So I'm going to put that in here, and we want to start planting some of our other stuff. Do we need to plant these? Can we plant some of them in the same pot, or do we want to keep them separate so they can grow and spread? As far as our
that's a good question. It depends on how big you want your plants to get. If you want them to stay smaller, then you can plant more than one in a single pot. Okay. But if you want them to get a little bigger, then just plant one per pot.
Love it. Okay. And do they grow pretty quick? Do they spread?
It depends on how much light's in your kitchen.
Okay.
It depends on how much light you get. If you get a lot of light in your kitchen, they'll grow fairly quickly. But don't be afraid to keep cutting them back. Plants really love being cut back, and then you get to eat the herbs too. So it's a good.
And I have some questions too.
Oh yeah.
To take.
Yeah.
So come here with my little sticky note.
Go ahead, Raquel.
So Trish had a few questions for you, Brandon. Starting off with, can time be grown outside?
Inside.
Inside?
Yes. Thyme can be grown inside. It likes drier soil, so be sure to let it dry out between waterings. It likes a lot of bright light, so keep it in your kit. If you have a lot of bright light in your kitchen, make sure you keep it kind of near the window. Thyme needs actually a lot of sunlight, so you could keep it in the window. Just make sure you check it often and make sure it's not drying out, because the problem with keeping plants in the window is they do love the light, but they dry out so quickly because the water evaporates.
And then in the spring, would it be something you could put out in the spring?
Yes.
She wants to probably know. Okay, so
all of these can be put outside in the spring.
You're gonna have to bring them in the winter, though.
Mm-hmm.
And then for her basil, if she wants to keep it inside, she's asking if she should line maybe her windowsill with butcher paper to keep it a little warmer, or
it's not really an issue of heat. I mean, basil does like it warmer. But if it doesn't get below 60 in your windowsill, which it usually doesn't indoors, then it's fine. But it's really an issue of direct sunlight and drying out, because usually when you put a plant in the window, it dries out so quickly. And basil can get a little dry, but at some point, if you forget for a few days and it's sitting in that window
It's
and
over.
it cooks, it's
Yeah,
done.
it's over. Okay.
So just watch it closely if you want to
This is
do
something
that.
you're going to have to watch every day. You're going to have to feel, like you said, make sure it's lightly damp, not
just
too
touch
wet.
the surface soil, and if it's even damp at all, don't water it. If it's totally dry, water it.
And
Just do that every day.
I think you touched on this, but what about plants that are okay with minimal light?
Minimal light. That's a very good question because not a lot of people have light in their kitchen.
Yeah,
So parsley actually does really well in minimal light.
Okay.
Let's see what else. Parsley, mint will do pretty well in minimal light.
Yeah, you're saying that these are good away from the window.
And chives, actually. Chives don't need a ton of light. They can survive anywhere.
And then Ginger was asking about basil, but you have touched a lot on that. And then Trish had one more question about her plants. What about African violets?
African violets. They're pretty easy to grow. I don't know what some good tips are. They do need a lot of bright light to bloom, because if they don't get enough light, they're not going to bloom. But I would keep them either in a window or near a window and watch them and make sure they don't totally dry out. But yeah, they're fairly easy to grow, but they do need fertilizer there every once in a while. So you can buy those little plant stakes that you get, and you put those into the soil, and they actually make one specifically for African violets.
Oh,
and you
I
put
know
those
that.
in the soil, and they slowly break down over time because they need their nutrients in order to bloom.
These have been some great questions.
Yeah,
I'll go
great
see
questions.
if you have any more in the next couple minutes. I will go write them down and ask Brandon. So I'll let you guys finish potting, and I will take your questions and be
Awesome.
back.
Thanks, Raquel.
Okay, so you filled this up. We're going to show.
Yeah.
Raquel, are you able to zoom in on this real quick?
Yeah.
Raquel's going to zoom in for us, and she does it through
I'm
the
also
magic
the
of her.
camera operator
She's
back
the
here.
camera operator. You're the expert. She has through her phone. It's great how she's able to zoom in here. And we had one viewer yesterday. She was saying that the audio has been a little difficult in here because we do have so much going on behind us. So we're working.
So we're trying to talk louder.
We're trying to talk louder, and we're also going to work on getting some microphones to see. We have a special camera that is remote that she's able to zoom in and out through her phone. So it maybe not the best on picking up the audio, but we'll work on that as well. So she's zooming in. She's going to show us. You've got this about half full right now. Do you need to add more before you put your plant in?
No, so you just put a little bit in the bottom, and I may have put a little too much. We'll see.
I'm going to take out the
Let's
parsley.
pull out the parsley.
Okay. And they always have these little things right here that I always throw away, which I really probably should read.
Yeah, you know,
Because this has
sometimes
some
they
good
have
tips.
useful information on them, yeah. Other times they just say the name of the variety, but sometimes they tell you, they give you some care, so that's good.
And this one's got really kind of grabbed on down here, so I'm going to be really gentle with pulling that out. And we want to aerate this, right?
Yeah, now this is a good question. Like if your root ball is really big like this,
Yes.
you don't have to put the whole thing in there. You can actually tear some of this off.
like half of it
yeah.
off. Okay.
So that's what we're gonna do.
Show us what you're going to do on that.
Now, all these herbs are going to be okay with
I
this.
think
They
come
don't
over here
mind.
'cause she might be
Oh
zooming
yeah,
in.
good
Okay.
idea.
Okay.
Okay, so we're just going to do this. We're just going to pull that apart right here at the bottom.
Okay.
We're going to put the extra in there. That gives us a smaller root ball to deal with.
Got it.
And then we can manipulate that around and smash it a little bit. And we actually take some of that soil out because I've got too much soil in here. You never know until you get the plant in there
Yeah.
how much soil you're going to have.
And usually you've got these little ones. You could probably get bigger ones too, but
That's right.
this is perfect for this size plant. I mean, especially because it's just so cute
Mm-hmm.
and it's small and petite. And now you just kind of worked it around.
Yeah, and we're going to cut him back a little bit so he looks a little bit nicer in here.
Okay.
And we're going to eat some parsley later.
Yes, we are. I'm going to take this in my car and really like
That's
eat
right,
my
gnaw on
parsley in
it.
the car. Yes, on my way home. That looks really nice. So we're done with that. Now, right away, right after you plant, you want to water it right away, right?
Yep, soak
you want
it.
to spray bottle it or you want to soak it?
I'd soak it, yeah.
Okay.
For the first time, soak it. Put it in your
First time
sink.
soak.
Put it in your sink and just let the water kind of run through
But
it for
look
a
how
couple
cute
minutes.
that is. Look at how just adorable that is. Like, this is adorable. All right, we're going to do our next is going to be the mint.
All
Do you want
right.
to do a little bit on the bottom for
Yeah,
the mint?
let's do a teeny
Okay.
bit.
And a little soil for me.
That.
And again, see what happens here is, see the roots have grown out, and that's going to make it really difficult to pull it out because it's easy to grab this and then like have sometimes pop it off. But just pull it out like that, and then you've got your root bed down here. We'll take a little bit off the bottom, like Brandon was talking about.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt them. They don't mind it.
See, I didn't know that. I'm learning so much from you.
There are some plants where you can't disturb the roots too much, but these herbs, they won't mind it.
I can get a little more fresh potting soil if
yeah,
you have
sure.
some. And I'm just working it. Is it best to kind of like work your finger around the roots so they open up and they don't choke?
That's a good idea to do if you pull it out and you see that the roots are just like totally wrapped around.
They need to breathe.
You got to break those up a little bit because otherwise they're going to keep growing like that around each other.
Won't they choke themselves?
Yeah, they don't like that. The roots need to breathe and they need space.
So here's our mint, and look how cute that is too.
That's beautiful.
So we're going to put this here, and even though we did plant our thyme in here, we are going to get sneaky and reuse it, and we're going to plant one more just so you can see the final effect over here. Let's see how we're doing. We got some extra soil in here.
And don't be worried about making a mess because that's just, when you're working with soil, it does get everywhere.
Yeah, and some people like to use the gloves, but some people like something like this.
Yeah,
it's not
I like
really
being in touch with the soil and the plant, so I don't like to wear gloves.
Yeah.
I have a couple more questions for you. Anna missed the part about cilantro, and that's her favorite. So if you could repeat that, she'd really appreciate it.
So talk about cilantro because that's what we're planting right now.
Cilantro is really easy to grow. It's a low light plant, so it can grow inside. It does need some light to survive. So try to put it in as bright a spot as you can in your house. But it's one of those that could survive in lower light levels. It does like to dry out a little bit between waterings. So make sure, like with all the other ones, just touch the surface of the soil, and if it feels totally dry to the touch, then go ahead and give it a good watering. A lot of people don't know this, but it's best to soak your plants instead of just giving them a tiny bit of water at a time.
Okay.
Let them dry out a little bit, and then put them in the sink and just let the water just kind of run through.
So
them
take
slowly.
this off once it dries, let it wet it down in your sink, let it get kind of dried out, and then put it back.
And repeat. Yeah,
Okay.
instead of just taking a tiny bit and
Like
giving
a
them a
little sprayer?
little. Yeah, they
Because you were
don't.
telling me before, it kind of simulates like a rainstorm outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
It's like a rainstorm. Yeah, they like that.
And that kind of leads us to the next question. It wasn't really a question. It was Tina saying that after watching this, she feels brave enough to actually try a herb garden out.
Awesome.
But I was going to ask for Tina, what advice do you have for first-timers who are actually going to build a garden for the very first time in their kitchen?
First timers, like I said earlier, just make sure that you're selecting the right plants because a lot of people select the wrong. If you don't have a lot of light, you want to stick to plants that need less light. So like cilantro, mint, parsley.
This is probably a really good starter kit right here. These three.
These three?
Or wait, no, not this one.
Well,
basil in the window.
You can do basil in the window because it needs the light.
window.
But these are all very easy care.
those-
Of all these, mint is probably the easiest because it's really hard to kill mint.
Yeah.
And then store them in kind of this type of setting where they're kind of separated or easy to move around.
Yeah, it's really whatever you want. You can plant them all in the same pot if you want. You can do it like
get a big
this.
pot and plant them all over.
Yeah, the nice thing about having them portable like this is if you don't have a lot of light in your kitchen, you can take them and put them in a room that does get a lot of light most of the time, and then bring it back to the kitchen when you want them to kind of brighten up the space.
I was going to ask you for something like this. How can you put this, or is it the opposite effect from the basil? Can you put this in the window, or is that going to be too much sun for these kind of plants? They'll lower,
It depends.
or on and off,
Sort of depends. You wouldn't want to put them in like a south-facing window where the sun is just blasting them all day.
Got it.
Because you'd end up watering
So
them every day.
sunlight's okay. Some sunlight's
Yeah.
okay. But what if
Yeah.
you don't have really good sunlight? You just leave it in your kitchen, but they get some light from here and there. put
Yeah,
out.
just try to move them as close to the light as possible. And if you have a newer home, they actually have treated the glass. It's called a low E treatment. And I don't know if you noticed, but when you walk in front of the glass, you don't even really get that warm because a lot of the UV rays are blocked. It's definitely okay to put those in front of a window like that because a lot of the sunlight is just filtered out, so they don't dry out nearly as fast in newer homes.
Awesome.
Really good info. Last minute question shout out. I'll go check really
Okay.
quick.
Well, and we're going to start wrapping up right now, but once again, just to let you know that Brandon's got his YouTube channel as well as his Facebook page, Thrifty Chic Home, and of course, we always put a link at the bottom of this for you, so you can actually ask him some direct questions. Home stuff, any DIY stuff, us as well over at Fix This. You can find our Facebook page, which you're probably already on, or our YouTube channel, which has I think more than 100 videos that we've already posted on there from the last year, and we put 3 or 4 a day on, 3 or 4 a week on that channel. So we got you covered in the DIY and craft area, and let us know if you have anything you want us to do. I think next week we're talking about doing
Succulent wreath.
Succulent wreaths. They're so pretty, and succulents don't have to be just one color, but right now succulents are really trendy because they're easy easy to take care of.
Exactly, and people are looking for houseplants right now because
Yes.
it's wintertime. We still want to
Yeah.
grow stuff, so succulents are kind of they're on the rise right now.
Okay, awesome. So anyways, check us out. Any last questions or can we say goodbye?
I think you guys can say goodbye.
We got you covered. Again, if you have any more questions, though, definitely comment below and we'll definitely get back to you and answer those questions. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
Thank you.
You want a second to...
Smile.